Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It is 7:07 now. It's O'Connor and Company on this Thursday morning. It's the 22nd day of January, and we are plowing through this busy news cycle with abandon. Coming up in 30 minutes from Parents Defending Education, Sarah Parshall Perry. We'll talk about what Virginia Democrats are doing to your public schools. It ain't good. Coming up at 8:05, K2 McFarland will explain the Greenland deal and what Trump achieved in Davos. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Bethany Mandel here. I love it when two Marylanders are side by side on this show. You know, sometimes we're just outnumbered by Virginians.
I mean, I would have made a joke that, you know, nobody's perfect, and so we landed on the wrong side of the Potomac. But I don't have to make that joke anymore. I don't have to be self-deprecating because Virginians have joined us in misery.
That's right.
And I hope they like the bed they've made because it is stinky.
And as bad as things are getting in Virginia right now so rapidly, we in Maryland, we can thump our chests, pound ourselves on the back, and congratulate ourselves for the smart voters of Frederick County who continue to return Chuck Jenkins to office as their county sheriff. He joins us now. Happy New Year to you, Sheriff Jenkins.
Happy New Year. Good morning, Larry.
Listen, you have a robust cooperation with federal immigration authorities and agents, and you ensure that if anyone is apprehended in the county of Frederick, Maryland, and they have an open detainer, you cooperate with ICE, and you make sure that, you know, the kind of scenes that we're seeing in Minneapolis right now don't happen in Frederick, because everything's handled in a legal, safe, and orderly way for people who should face deportation. Based on the current political winds and what's going on in Annapolis right now, do you have concerns that that cooperation and that safe, orderly, effective law enforcement is now under threat?
Absolutely, Larry, because of what's going on in Annapolis. Actually, the hearing will be today, committee hearing. I'm concerned that the House Democrats, the Maryland Democrats, are going to vote try to take away my authority to work with ICE in the 287G, and that would be a terrible mistake. I'm afraid if we do get down this road and they force sheriffs to end the program, we will see exactly what we're seeing in Minneapolis.
Yeah. I saw a really troubling, and I want you to fact check me because I saw this on Facebook, so God only knows. But I saw a really troubling post come across my social media feed. I think it was this morning, actually, where people were posting the license plates of cars that were suspected to be ICE. Is that kind of stuff happening here? Because that seems like a really scary potential escalation that has the potential to be like a Renee Good situation here in Maryland.
So I have not heard that in Frederick County whatsoever, and I keep my ear to the ground quite a bit.
Okay.
Listen, because of our relationship with ICE, I've also got a great relationship with Homeland Security investigations, federal authorities, and I can actually help situations where family members are apprehended by ICE and to find out what's happened to them. If this relationship goes away, if this program goes away, the relationship is gone probably.
Right.
So let's talk about these bills that are being debated right now. And Marylanders, if you have the time today, hopefully you can get. I doubt they're taking public comment, but you tell me, Sheriff, if they are. Will they basically force Frederick County to become a sanctuary county?
Well, what they're going to do is make Maryland officially the sanctuary state. They claim it's not. But what they're going to do is every county sheriff, and right now there are 8 counties that participate with ICE in some form of the 287G program, they're going to force an end to that. Now, I happen to believe, and I'm not a lawyer certainly, but I happen to believe there's a legal challenge in the courts because I'm a constitutionally elected sheriff. I'm a constitutional office. I have the authority to sign agreements with federal authorities or any other authority to keep my county safe, and they're trying to take that away from us. So I think there's a court challenge for the office of sheriff.
I suspect their argument will be that may be so, Sheriff, but you're also bound to the state of Maryland's Constitution and state law as well. How do you that's the balance, right?
Well, I guess in their mind that's bound. There's also the supremacy clause to consider.
Right. The federal law seems to trump that, and that's where it will
right.
probably end up is in a federal court. Are they taking public comment if Marylanders want their voices heard and want to make sure that the Annapolis lawmakers don't take this ability for sheriffs to actually keep the county safe? Can they be heard today?
I believe they probably can. I know there's going to be some, or at least I believe there's going to be some panels of speakers on both sides of the equation there, some in opposition, some in favor of. However, what they generally do is stack the audience, stack the chamber there with opposition, or actually people who would be in favor of the bill this time.
Yeah.
And they will dominate the testimony. So it's really, really important that the Republicans on the committee, JPR committee, take the opportunity to ask the questions that make a difference in making these decisions. But I got to tell you, I think Senator Bill Ferguson has the deck stacked this time. He is more concerned about politics than public safety. And unfortunately, if this bill goes through, Marylanders are going to pay a price. I believe that, unfortunately.
When you're talking to folks on the ground, how are they feeling about all of these things? Because I think that there is a difference between sort of the AstroTurf activists that show up and the real people who have real jobs and don't want to take the time out of their day to make their voices heard because they're busy living their lives. What are you hearing from those folks?
I really believe, my ears to the ground here in Frederick County, I really believe that Frederick County residents support this program by a large margin, actually. And nobody wants to see a situation like we're seeing in other parts of the country.
Yeah.
What we've done has been orderly, controlled, safe for the public, safe for the detainees, safe for law enforcement. Just think about this. If we had released the 1,882 criminals that we've turned over to ICE, what we'd be seeing right now in Frederick County.
Yeah.
Chuck Jenkins is our guest. He's the sheriff of Frederick County, one of the most popular politicians in Frederick County, and I've been trying to convince him to take his show on the road and maybe run statewide in Maryland. Sheriff Jenkins, there is a gubernatorial race coming up here. Have you taken my entreaties under any kind of advisement here? Is there any chance you could run for governor?
Well, you know what, Larry? I have filed for sheriff after a year of talking to people, considering my role here in Frederick County, where I could serve best. I asked a lot of people, talked to a lot of businesses and just influential people, and by and large, they said, Sheriff, you can do the most good here in Frederick County. So that's what I chose to do. I filed to run again for a sixth term.
Well, that's exciting and extraordinary, by the way. And, the bad news for the rest of us outside of Frederick County, but certainly good news for the residents of Frederick who are hanging on by a thread sometimes when you see the Montgomery County influence. That you talk about border problems. The president has secured the southern border here now. Maybe he can do something about the border between Frederick and Montgomery County.
Well, I've tried to do that, and actually 287G has actually created that border in a sense. But, no, listen, it's getting a little bit tougher. It's going to be really tough this year. The numbers, Democrats outnumber Republicans in the county. It's the independents that I have to go after and convince, listen, we live in a great place. And, Larry, I call this a land of pleasant living all the time.
Yes. I do love that. All right. Well, Sheriff Jenkins, thank you. Are you Bethany Mandel? She is a Montgomery County resident. Is there any chance, Bethany, this is now sort of making you think maybe another 15, 20 miles further out?
So it's funny. If you had given me more time to ask questions, you're just hogging the mic over there. I was actually thinking, I wonder if the horrible way that my county is run is bleeding over into Frederick County and making it unsafe, and maybe he can just martial law Montgomery County. But
Sheriff, what do you think?
So listen, Frederick County is a safe county. I actually run into people all the time, believe it or not, who tell me, Sheriff, I moved to Frederick County because of how safe it is. And a lot of those people are from Montgomery County. Now, the rest of Frederick County politics is going in the wrong direction. All I can do is what I can do to keep it safe.
We will leave it there. Sheriff Jenkins, good luck with your re-election campaign. Don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you on. And when you have an opponent, we'd love to have your opponent on as well. We'll have plenty of questions for them. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, right. Take care. Thank you.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Yeah, see, she makes it sound fun when you get all this snow coming in.
That was the right song choice.
Yeah. Hey, let it snow. No, we don't want the snow. It's going to screw everything up. When you look at the winter weather alerts right now and what the region looks like, the entire mid-Atlantic is under a winter storm watch, and it looks like it's going to be nasty, as you just heard. Capital Weather Gang right now is saying the models look like 7 to 12 inches of snow inside the Beltway area. Saturday night into Sunday, most of those models suggest that it's going to flip to sleet and or freezing rain for a time between Sunday morning and Sunday night in the Beltway area. Areas farther northwest might stay mostly snow, but some will be mixing even there as well. Worst part of the storm will be late Saturday night into Sunday morning, when it's going to be snowing hard with low temperatures in the teens. That'll make sure that the snow sticks, and it's going to be a mess. So what are your plans, Bethany? Because we all have to. Meredith is already digging the bunker in the backyard, ready to hunker down, and she's prepping everything. We're going to have some delivery of, bottled water and propane tanks or something. I don't know how it works.
I just ordered. So on my to-do list today, we talked about it in previous hours, and folks should go back and listen on the podcast if you missed any of the show, because we had great conversations this morning. But I have been doing my grocery lists and my meal planning. There's going to be a lot of soup in our future. There's going to be some freshly baked baguettes. I tweeted my recipe for that.
How are you going to cook it if the power's out?
So I'm not. We're going to starve if the power's out and eat nothing but protein bars. But I did buy and now I feel comfortable saying this on the radio because we have it and it's coming. I bought like a small generator in case we have to charge appliances. Yeah. But I was super duper, and I think I'm jinxing it right now. I'm Irish, and I think I'm jinxing it. Okay. I have always been tempted by whole house generators, but it's thousands and thousands of dollars.
Meredith has wanted one too, and it's like, that's not going to happen.
No. But I did buy a small generator, and so, if we have to keep our phones charged and keep a laptop running with a movie as we're all snuggled under the blanket. Yeah. And hopefully it used to be in Montgomery County. I have family from here, so I grew up coming here all the time. It used to be in Montgomery County that we would lose power if it was sunny outside. And I'm just saying we would lose power constantly. And I don't know what Montgomery County did, but they actually fixed the infrastructure a great deal. Nice. I think it was. I think they did a lot of tree trimming. I'm really not sure.
That's the reason why I lose power where I live. It's because of trees. Yeah. It's because of trees, and we lost power over the summer last year because of a tree after the rain, and then we lost power. I want to say 2 years ago we had a January storm that knocked out power. Again, it usually happens a day and a half after the snow comes down. Everything seems fine, but then the snow got so heavy on the limb that the limb came down. Yep. That took down the power line. So
that's what's concerning me actually about these latest weather reports that I'm seeing is that there's ice involved, and ice is not your friend.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty nervous about that. And if the problem also with this storm, not to sound like really dire, guys, is that it's so widespread that, when there's an ice storm, usually, Florida will send their trucks, Maine will send their trucks, whatever. But if everyone gets the same ice storm, nobody's sending their trucks. You're all out for yourself. And that's what makes me nervous.
Well, the good news is here in Maryland, when they say they're brining the roads, right, with all of this special mixture, it's mostly Old Bay. You know that, right?
I saw that meme.
That's how Maryland prepares.
It'll smell good, at least. I don't know. We have a lot of granola bars.
Mm. Yeah. Well, that's what you got to do. We've got a bunch of protein powders, protein shakes, if necessary. We'll get through it. But I don't know. We shall say. Listen. We're in the radio business. We are a public service. We will be on 105.9 FM at the very least throughout this entire thing, come hell or high water. Does
the studio have a shower? Mm-hmm. I'll bring my whole family in for a shower when I do radio.
Let's not go crazy. No, I don't think so. Let's not. I will say this. I think the biggest challenge right now is what are they going to call this thing? We've already had Snowmageddon. We've had Snowpocalypse. We've had Snowzilla. Oh. What do you think this one's going to be?
I think it has to sound something like Trump and Greenland. I don't know.
Ooh.
Everything is President Trump's fault. So we have to figure out a name that honors that
MAGA
period
storm
of our life. Yes, very good, Larry. This is why they pay you the big bucks.
We'll work on it. We've got about 2 more days until it hits, so we'll come up with a name. It's 7:23. It's 7:30 in your nation's capital, and coming up, we'll continue that conversation about the new curriculum being pushed in Virginia with Sarah Parshall Perry, Parents Defending Education. Keep it here.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 7:37. Thanks for tuning in here to our morning extravaganza called O'Connor and Company, getting you where you need to go in a timely fashion until the snow hits, and hopefully entertained and informed and maybe even motivated to do something about the world we're living in when all is said and done. Coming up at 8:05, KT McFarland will join us, talk about Trump's return from Davos and what he got done there. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Bethany Mandel. Good morning, Bethany.
I hope that folks aren't sick of me yet. You're going to get a lot of me next week, folks. 3 days next week.
Oh, God.
I know. Brace yourselves.
It's an embarrassment of riches here on O'Connor and Company. Sarah Parshall Perry is the Vice President of Parents Defending Education. And, well, your agenda just got a little bit busier with the new Democrat majority in Richmond, Virginia. Ms. Perry, thanks for joining us.
Well, I am happy to be here, but, I wish it were under better circumstances, because the only way I can describe what's happening right now in the Virginia legislature is something akin to an orgiastic offering of far left progressive agenda items, and it wasn't very subtle about it. So, we've got our work cut out for us.
Is the FCC going to ding us?
Yeah, don't say orgy. No, the FCC is fine with it. I'm more worried that you're giving them ideas there, Sarah, for their new, health family life initiatives. All right, so what's the latest here? I saw that now history has to be shot through the lens of marginalized communities. So we're really going to learn all about, the development of the atom bomb during World War II through the transgender perspective?
Well, that's exactly it. One of the curricular mandates now is the prioritization of teaching history from the perspective of marginalized communities, whether that be LGBTQ communities, whether or not that be illegal immigrants, whether or not that would be individuals of, different sort of ethnic persuasions. We're prioritizing all of these micro classes. And this is part and parcel of what we've seen in American education for a very long time, right? This is the matrix of victim and victor, oppressor and oppressed, but we very rarely see it within the context of a hard offering through legislative curricular inclusions. They're making absolutely no bones about it, but it's not the only education problem we have. They've also introduced a bill to provide in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. Gee, I would love to have sent my son to University of Virginia when we were living in Maryland if I had wanted to send him there, because in-state tuition makes a significant difference in the cost of affordability of higher education. But we've not only seen that, we've also seen 27 new appointments on Virginia Institutes of Higher Education. Now, I say this as somebody who was very briefly, before she was defenestrated by the Democratic Senate, on the George Mason University board, and she has now brought on, among all of her other sort of luminaries, 2 Qatari lobbyists to sit on the board of George Mason University. By the way, Qatar now, according to U.S. Department of Education data, outranks every other foreign nation for foreign funding, influence, and the influx of billions of dollars on American college campuses. What could possibly go wrong?
I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because people are not well enough aware of the threat and the influence of Qatar on our entire society, honestly, especially here in Washington. But I want to rewind to your tweet about all of this. You asked, are Democratic voters unconcerned with the falling NAEP scores? And I know you asked that rhetorically, but I'm going to ask you sincerely.
Yeah.
Are they not concerned that our public schools are not delivering an adequate service to taxpayers?
This is apparently something about which they're not concerned. And as far as taxpayers are concerned, we've already seen proposed increases in the tax rate in Arlington, in Stafford, 2 new tax brackets, the increase to include an increase unilaterally across the board, 1% tax increase for sales tax for all businesses in the state of Virginia. The tax rate now is going to be impossible. So first of all, I will answer sort of an accurate question with another rhetorical one, which is they don't much care about the taxpayers in the Commonwealth. But that aside, Bethany, you and I have talked about the fact that the National Assessment for Education Progress, the nation's report card, the most recent scores indicated that a full third of American high school seniors went off to college or went off to trade schools as functionally illiterate and innumerate. That is absolutely unacceptable. And Virginia saw the largest learning losses of any state in the country due to the closures that were largely a result of the teachers' influence.
Wow.
Which, by the way, I remember candidate Abigail Spanberger running for office on that very issue. I don't see how, transforming the curriculum to shoot history through the lens of the indigenous people's perspective is going to fix that problem. And that's sort of the key here. None of this was what people voted for, literally, and we're only 5 days in, Sarah Perry. Can it be stopped? Or is this one of those very cynical things where they're throwing the most radical stuff on the wall? Abigail Spanberger will choose a couple of things to veto so she can say, see how moderate I am?
This is interesting. This is very much the Joe Biden playbook from 2021. Remember, he too campaigned on the promise of moderation, as Abigail Spanberger did. And then what we saw was an entire raft of whole of government approaches to things, for example, like illegal immigration and the transgender agenda. In fact, one of his first executive orders on January 21st of 2021, Executive Order 13988, was throwing open the doors for every federal agency to take that term sex and to expand it to gender identity and transgender status. That made violence on every single federal law and regulation we saw top to bottom, and we're still undoing it. Hence the women's sports cases that were just argued last week at the Supreme Court. That's the damage that was wrought. She's following the same playbook, campaign on moderation, and then come out swinging and deliver every promise that you told your quiet supporters you would do once you actually got into office. I anticipate a great deal of challenges. The Fourth Circuit, unfortunately, is not very favorable to constitutional statutory interpretation that's level-headed. They get gender identity wrong a lot, but I tell you what, we're going to be one of the organizations that calling them to task.
All right. Bethany, say it again. This is why you homeschool.
I was literally just thinking that. I was thinking no matter how bad I do, my kids are still going to be in a better position. That's what I was thinking.
They certainly are. They certainly are.
That said, Sarah Perry,
I would take a Bethany Mandel education over a public school one in Virginia now. I would.
That to start your own school. But Sarah, we've had these discussions before, you and I, before you joined Parents Defending Education, and now as well. Yes, we can make choices for our own kids to make sure our own kids are getting an education separate from these radical ideas. But number one, we're paying for this education, so we have a say in it, whether our kids are in these schools or not. And number two, the young people, the young adults who are produced by this system that we're paying for, they're the people that are going to be voting. They're the people who that we're going to be hiring, or that are going to be working on the other side of the telephone line when we need some work. That's why we're invested in a public education system, and we deserve the very best. It does affect us, even if you think it doesn't affect your children directly.
No, you're exactly right. And here's the reality, Larry, is that 90% of American school kids go to public schools for reasons of the need of special education services, which my boys did, whether it's zoning, whether it's affordability, whether it's employment for both parents because they're barely making ends meet. There are various reasons that most school kids go to public education facilities. That is something that I refuse to cede to the left. I will not take an entire cultural institution and say, well, conservatives tried. We've been trying since 1980. Guess it's not going to work. We're going to do something else. I love the people who homeschool, send their kids to parochial school. I love charter schools. I fight for school choice. My kids, unfortunately, were a product of public school, and I'm going to go down swinging because I pay taxes in this state as well, as I know you guys do. This is something about which I feel very passionate, and we can't afford to be quiet about it.
God bless you, Sarah. Parshall Perry, Parents Defending Education. Go check out their website so you can be involved in the fight, too. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
It is 7:46.
WMAL's Vince Colonnese, weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
Of course, lots of geopolitical maneuvering going on at the World Economic Forum in Davos. You saw the president yesterday and many members of his administration working through that Greenland deal, the introduction of the Board of Peace that they put forth with some new plans for, I think I saw new Gaza, new Rafah, we're going to redo everything there. But ultimately, it's all about economic policy, right? That's what it's supposed to be about. Ken Griffin is the founder and CEO of Citadel. He's a hedge fund guru. He's worth $1 gajillion bucks, right? He's a huge philanthropist, gives his money to charities and cancer research, all that stuff. He was on a panel yesterday, and, well, listen to what he had to say about the last administration's plans for the economy. Cut 15.
You cannot imagine how painful it was each and every day under the Biden administration to look at what new crazy proposal was being put into place to solve a problem that didn't even exist. Mm-hmm. I mean, our constant friction at Citadel with the government across umpteen different aspects of our business was exhausting. And to have that literally end on one day, Election Day, just gives you so much energy as an entrepreneur to go back and build your business. So the biggest sea change I've seen across American executives has been just like the giant sigh of relief. I can now go and focus on building my business. And that prior administration, we happen to be a creditor of Spirit. Their merger with JetBlue was stopped. Spirit's in bankruptcy today. There were so many decisions that were so poorly thought out in terms of economic consequences. It cost the U.S. economy dearly. I cannot emphasize that enough. And so the Trump administration is making slow progress on deregulation thus far, but the end of the regulatory onslaught has been just an extraordinary boom for American business.
Yeah, so incredible to hear, especially when you couple that with Gavin Newsom going overseas to trash our president, ask foreign leaders to unite in opposition to our president and his foreign policies, that was elected into office by the American people. And you hear him trashing the economic policies. Again, this guy isn't a Trump advisor. He's not part of the cabinet. He's just a CEO, objectively speaking. It's like, good God, things are 1,000% better.
Doesn't it kind of feel like Gavin Newsom committed some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Treason?
Treason. Thank you so much. I knew it started with a T. And you knew exactly where I was going because we're soulmates. We're radio soulmates.
Yeah.
No, it felt very treasonous because he went over there acting like he was the shadow government.
Yeah.
He was the government in hiding. And this kind of statement, I applaud Citadel's CEO for saying this out loud because a lot of companies don't want to get political. And I think that's
right.
actually the right move. I think that under normal circumstances, it's not a good idea. But
you know what? I hear you, but can I pause? Because that wasn't really political. That was just objectively.
We can talk about the Biden administration.
Things were awful under the Biden administration, and it was terrible every day, and it all changed with one election. I guess that's political, but
it is political because it's an acknowledgement that it is easier for a business to thrive under Republicans than it is under Democrats. Okay. But you can just look at the migration patterns of American companies to realize that. Yeah. Google, Boeing, all of these companies who have decided to migrate from blue states to red states because it's easier.
You're right. And by the way, for anybody, and we know we have a wide audience with many, many different political opinions, and we love that. And we try to present political ideas here in a way that everyone's welcome. If anyone wants to balk at my characterization of Gavin Newsom's behavior overseas in Davos as treasonous, you tell me what word we should use for a governor of a state flying overseas, standing in a foreign nation, and literally compelling foreign leaders to unite in opposition to a foreign and national security policy of the President of the United States. If you've got another word for it, I'll be happy to use it.
Yeah.